Hi YouTube, this is Raven. I'm a survivor of a 16-year marriage to a covert narcissist, or someone with a personality disorder. I'm not sure whether he had NPD or BPD, borderline personality disorder. And I've done a series of videos called Narcissists Are Ridiculous. And in the videos, I've mostly talked about the relationship between my ex and I, his relationship with his parents, my narcissistic in-laws. I haven't talked a lot about my family. And so I'm going to talk about the wedding from hell. Not my wedding. My wedding was definitely from hell, but this one was also from the same place. This was the wedding from hell. It was my brother's wedding. And if you notice, I'm wearing a uniform right now. I'm in the Army Reserves, and this is my 2 weeks of annual training. So I'm in an Army barracks. And I decided to make a video to kind of pass the time. It's off-duty hours, so I can have my hair down. I'm going to brave the nasty showers here in a little bit when I finish this video. Hopefully I don't get foot fungus. It's pretty bad. The food's bad too. So the wedding from hell. My brother, I believe, is a narcissist, or he is either that or he's just very immature. He never left home. He lives with my parents, still lives with my parents, even though he's married now, and lived upstairs. Mommy, cooked for him, cleaned for him. And so he just didn't date. And for the longest time, I thought he was gay. And I was okay with that. But he decided to do online dating. And he dated the first woman that he came across online and married her. And, when you're dating, you just don't marry the first person that comes along, unless that person's the right person. But how do you know unless you date a lot of people? At least that's my opinion. But I think that she mirrored a lot of things about his personality in order to snag him. And I believe that she has borderline personality disorder. She is the reason that my children and I had to move back in January, because she challenged me to a fist fight and wanted me to come over there and bring it. She sent me a 2,000-word text message telling me what a horrible mother I am, what a horrible nurse I am. And I decided, just to take myself out of the equation. And so I did the bigger thing, the mature thing, and moved me and my kids away from that situation. So when they met, they got engaged very, very quickly. I guess my brother had been lonely long enough. So they decided to get married at the height of COVID. This is 2020. A lot of things are shut down. And they decided to get married in a resort town, Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. And they chose the week of the Gospel Quartet Convention. That's the vacation week that my parents always would go on vacation, and they would always take my brother along for the past 20 years, going to this Gospel Quartet Convention. And it's a whole week of Gospel Quartet concerts. And I've always said that I would have to poke my eardrums out with an ice pick before I would ever set foot in a gospel quartet convention. But to each his own. You do you, I'll do me. But so he decided they're going to get married that same week, because that's his vacation week. It's his only week of vacation, and they're going to get married. We're going to get married and have vacation in the same week. So the kids and I went up. I was a bridesmaid. Never again. And we went up a couple days before actually. And the kids and I decided, we're going to make a vacation of this. So we stayed in a hotel that's kind of like a Great Wolf Lodge. It has an indoor water park. And I took the kids up there, and the kids had fun. We're having a blast. We're playing laser tag. They have bowling there. They have a ropes course. The kids and I are just, having a blast. And, the kids tried to beat me at laser tag. And I'm like, I've been in the Army for 20 years. You're not going to beat me at laser tag. And they tried, they ganged up on me, and I'm just like, yeah. And they're like, how did you do that? I'm like, age and treachery will always beat youth and inexperience. So anyways, that Friday morning, they had decided that they were going to go up Friday. My brother worked all through the week, and then Friday they had to go up and get their wedding license because, this is a different state, and, the office is closed on Saturdays and Sundays, and they were going to get married on Sunday at noon because they had messed up the dates when they were arranging the wedding chapel, and it was all booked up for Saturday. So the only time they could get married was Sunday high noon. But they had to get their wedding license, before that. So I get a call from my mother because they had decided they were going to caravan together up to Pigeon Forge. But her family wanted to follow along. Her family lives like another hour and a half away. They live like 7 hours from Pigeon Forge. And so they were all going to follow, my brother and parents and her. So they were all going to meet up. I get a call from my mom. It's like 9 o'clock in the morning, and she's already annoyed. It's like, we have not left home yet. We haven't left home. I'm like, why? And she says, they had errands to run. We've not left home. We need to get up to Pigeon Forge before 4 o'clock because the license office closes at 4 o'clock. And I'm like, okay, well, to tell them to just go on, and, her family can follow y'all up to, Pigeon Forge. And she's like, no, he doesn't want to do it that way. I'm like, okay, whatever. So then another couple hours go by, and they had got to the meet point where they were going to meet halfway. Her family, they were going to meet at a Starbucks. And my mother calls me, and she's in a panic now. She's like, they're not here. And apparently it's because the Starbucks that they were supposed to meet at was closed. So they had went to another Starbucks. And by the time her family got there, her mother walks in, and her mother apparently is high drama. She walks in and she gets her coffee and sits down like she's going to, sit there and enjoy her coffee. And my mother's like, no, we need to go. The office closes at 4. And her mother's like, we have plenty of time. And my mother's like, no, we don't. We need to get on the road. And so I told her at that point, there again, tell my brother and his future wife to just go on down the road, and get their license. And my mother's like, no, they want to show them their cabin, show them where they'll be staying. So it gets on and on and on throughout the day, and they barely made it to get their license. And so it was to the point where I was looking up places like, where can you get a wedding license, 24 hours. It's like, okay, you can get one. There's places in Gatlinburg, they can get a wedding license if they have to. But, my mother was just freaking out over this. But Christina's mother, the bride, Christina's mother was not worried at all. And I think that she was trying to cause drama, because the rest of the weekend she was causing drama. Now, we get to the cabin, and the air conditioning goes out in the cabin, and on the top floor. And, my parents are on the phone with this company, like, you need to come fix this. And the company wouldn't come out and fix it, and so my mother's already freaking out. And, all these things kept happening along the way, and I'm like, this is God trying to tell us something. He does not want these people to get married. And so we finally get to the rehearsal, and it's the night before the rehearsal. And we had started a Facebook chat between me and all of the bridesmaids. And the bridesmaids were chatting, okay, well, we're going to give her gifts, at the rehearsal. So everybody meet at the church at 4 o'clock for the rehearsal. And I texted them back, and I said, no, the rehearsal is not the rehearsal's not at the church because the church is all booked up. This is Saturday now, and the church is all booked up. We're having the rehearsal at my parents' cabin. And the bridesmaids are like, no, we're having it at the church. It's at the church. And I'm like, these bridesmaids, they're not listening. They're all high drama too. All of her friends are high drama. And so I tell my brother, I'm like, hey, the bridesmaids think that the rehearsal is at the church. You need to make sure the groomsmen know that it's not at the church, it's at the log cabin. And so my brother's like, yeah, I'll take care of this. Well, the next morning, it's time for we're going to have the rehearsal that day. And Christina's coming down the stairs. We're all having breakfast. We've made some breakfast. And I just casually say to her, so is everybody straight about, the rehearsal? And, because I said, they were kind of confused. And she looks at me. No one was confused except you. They all knew they were supposed to be here at the cabin. And I said, no. I said, look, here's the Facebook chat, that they all thought that, they were supposed to be at the church. She slams her coffee cup down. And runs up the stairs like a little girl. I mean, just runs. Now, my brother's sitting there eating, his breakfast, like, what just happened here? And so he finishes his breakfast, because he's always going to do this. And this is not the first time that she's run up the stairs. She would always do this if I said something at the house, that bothered her. So he finishes his breakfast, and he goes up the stairs. A few minutes later, he comes down. He's like, Mom, I need your help. Mom. So my mom marches up the stairs, and I'm like, oh, what shit is about to happen? There is some shittery afoot here right now. It's like, I smell it. And so a few minutes later, my mom comes down the stairs like, we need you up here. And I look at her like, it's not happening. It's not happening. I know what's about to happen here, and it's not happening. And she's like, please come up here and help. And I'm like, fine, I'll go upstairs. So I get upstairs, and she's in her room in the cabin, and she's got her head draped over the side of a chair. I mean, it's just like a silent movie film. And she's like crying, like just it's like a wounded animal. I mean, it was almost comical. I mean, I almost had to like, don't laugh, don't laugh. And my mother says, Raven has something to say to you. And I'm like, Christina, what's wrong? Like, you just won't leave well enough alone. You just won't leave things alone, will you? It's my wedding day. Why won't you leave things alone? I'm like, what are we talking about here? And she's like, everyone knew that they were supposed to be here, and you just push and push and push. I'm like, dear God, this is a grown woman, and it's the day before her wedding, and she's acting this way. And so I come up with an apology that I bite my tongue, and I'm like, oh, well, Christina, I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew where they were supposed to be. I wanted to make sure that your day goes off without a hitch, that you can marry, the love of your life without everything, going off without, everything going off without a hitch, everything's going to be okay, and that's what I'm supposed to do, and it's your wedding day, it's all about you, but, that's what I was doing. I wasn't trying to cause trouble. Oh, God. And from that moment on, she treated me differently. The whole wedding weekend, she was a royal bitch to me. oh my God. And I went out of my way to try and be nice to her. Well, that night, we had the rehearsal dinner, and we had the rehearsal. And the one thing about this place where we stayed in the mountains, they have bears. The bears are everywhere. I mean, my dad was sitting on the porch, on his phone, and all of a sudden, like, a bear walks up, and it's like 5 feet away from him. He's like, ooh, ooh. He's getting out his camera, trying to take a picture with his phone, like, oh, damn it, I don't know how to work this phone. And, he's yelling to my mom, like, come out here, there's a bear, And then my mom comes out, like, where? And he's like, it just went down the road. Well, they told us in this resort, make sure you lock the trash cans because there are bears around here and they get into the trash can. And I had been to Yosemite and they had the same bear trash cans. They tell you even in Yosemite, don't leave food in your car because the bear will get into your car. They have been known to rip doors off of cars to get to the food. So my mother said, lock the trash cans. Everybody lock the trash can. If you put something in it, lock it. And my sister-in-law has these 2 yappy little dogs. I mean, they're, about this big. But they think, they're like, they think they're like, huge, like Great Danes, or German Shepherds, And the dogs start barking that night. And the dog tries to run out the front door, and my brother grabs the dog, and keeps him from running out. And out there was a gigantic mama bear, huge. I mean, this was a huge bear. If you've ever seen The Great Outdoors, where John Candy is like, bear, big bear, chase me, big bear. This was the kind of bear, and she's going through our trash can. And she's like eating, and so she's like, Wendy's, you got a Frosty I can dip these fries in, like ooh, Chick-fil-A, you got any Polynesian sauce? And my mother is screaming, get back in the house, everybody! And so we're all out there and like taking pictures of the bear and videos of the bear, and that little dog tried to get past my brother, and I was like, you need to keep hold of that dog, because that dog's about to be an appetizer. And so we all got back inside. Bears, we survived the bear attack. And so my sister-in-law went up to a cabin that she had rented. It was going to be the honeymoon cabin, and she goes up there, and so we have the wedding the next day, and the wedding goes off, everything's fine in the wedding, but she's treating me like shit the whole time. I mean, just like, ugh, like, I can't believe, that I can't believe you did this. I can't believe you did that. I mean, she is just a royal bitch the whole time. And I'm being nice to her, and, I'm trying to be nice, but I'm sitting there thinking, like, when this wedding's over with, I'm going to break into my cousin's moonshine. Because he went and bought some moonshine from a local distillery, and I'm like, I'm going to need some of that when we're done here. And he's like, yeah, definitely. And so they get through the wedding, but they leave, for their honeymoon. So they leave and they go back to the cabin that's down the street because the chapel is in this resort. So they go back to their honeymoon cabin. And I guess they were getting ready to do what people do on their honeymoon night. And especially since my brother is, I'm pretty sure my brother was a virgin. And so, they get to their cabin, and then there's a, knock on the door. It's like, who the hell is this? It's like we're getting ready to get busy. It's his new in-laws. His sister-in-law, brother-in-law, his mother-in-law, cousin-in-law, all of them at the door. They want to spend time together. Are you people not aware of what is about to happen or, should be happening right now? That they're in the bedroom in their cabin. And so, and they did. They all came in and they sat down like, we're going to spend time together. And my brother was like, what the fuck is going on here? And So, and then he finally convinces them, it's like, y'all need to leave. It's like, we want to go to dinner. Yeah. And they're like, oh, great. Where are you going to dinner? We'll go with you. And my brother is just, he's fit to be tied. So then he tells them they're going to go to the Titanic Museum. So instead of consummating his marriage, he's going to the Titanic Museum because, they're not going to go along with that because, he's not going to pay their way, the $39.99 or whatever it is to get into the Titanic Museum. So they go off to the Titanic Museum. We have no idea that this is what's going on. And so then after the Titanic Museum, they went out to dinner. And they went out to dinner, and his new in-laws now followed them to dinner. They figured out where they were going to dinner, and they sat down to dinner with them. And so my brother comes by after dinner, he and his wife, and this is like 9 o'clock at night. My cousin and I, we're sitting on the back porch, using his telescope to like look at the sky, because he works for NASA. And we're like, talking, and I'm like, okay, now come on, really tell me, the moon landing was fake, wasn't it? It was fake, wasn't it? And he's like, I can't tell you that. And I'm like, past the moonshine. And they show up, my brother and his wife, and they're like, we haven't, yeah. And he's telling my mother how they haven't consummated their marriage yet. I'm like, TMI, TMI, I don't want to hear about this. And it's like TMI. And my mother is like, what the hell are you doing here? And my aunt, she steps in. It's like, go back to your cabin and spend the night together. It's like, lock the doors and don't answer the door. So, and I could tell how frustrated he was. So they went back, and so I assumed they consummated their marriage. But then they had only rented the cabin for one night. I didn't realize that, because the next day the kids and I were leaving, and my mother was saying, okay, well, make sure that you tidy up the room you were staying in before you leave. And I'm like, why? She's like, well, your brother and Christina are going to be staying in that room. I'm like, they're staying in the same cabin with their parents on their honeymoon? And she said, yeah, they did that, to kind of save money, since we already had this cabin rented for the week. So my brother spent the rest of his honeymoon week in the same cabin, bedroom down the hall from his parents, and then went to all these concerts at night with his parents and his new bride and her 2 dogs. I'm like, there is no way that I as a new bride could be comfortable consummating my marriage with my in-laws right down the hall. Boundaries. Oh my God. So, and my kids were asking me, Mom, is this normal? Like, nothing about this fucked up situation is normal. This situation is FUBAR, we say it in the military, fucked up beyond all recognition. So on the way home, we stopped at the only rest stop that was open. And apparently her parents, her mother was also in the car behind us, and they had stopped at the rest stop. And she keeps following me into the bathroom, talking about her back pain and her abdominal pain and all these things that, why she's on disability. And I'm like, oh my God, please leave me alone. Leave me alone. Because, she had made Christina's life a living hell during the wedding. Christina had made my life a living hell during the wedding. And now, she had nobody to complain to, so I guess she's going to complain to me. And I'm like, okay, well, see ya, bye. And I got in the car and got away as quickly as possible. But I saw where Christina gets her drama. And during the wedding, her cousin got upset with her mother over something. And he said, well, I'm just gonna walk home. And he gets out of the van and he's walking down the road. He's gonna walk all the way home. It's like you're gonna walk 5.5 hours, back to where you came from. Like, what? Through bear infested woods. I mean, the bears were everywhere. I'm like, okay, yeah, there again, you do you. But I saw that temper tantrum that this grown man pulled with this 80-something-year-old woman. And I'm like, that's where she gets it from. It's her family, and she learned it. And a lot of times, I guess narcissism is a learned behavior. Now, anyways, that's all for now. Narcissists are ridiculous, even when they're getting married. So, but that's all for now. Be safe. Take care.